Have you ever picked up an old camera and just thought, wow, I could really get into collecting that? Well, you might be in the right place. Roll the intro. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew. If you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. If you have watched any of my videos in the past, you'll know that I really love old cameras. I've got a building collection of cameras. I enjoy using them. I enjoy trying out all the new features of old cameras that don't operate the way modern cameras work. So I love and have a passion for using old cameras. And I've been asked a number of times, how do I get into it? How do I start a collection? Where do I look? What do I do? How much is it going to cost? So I thought today would be a really good time to just sit down and go through a little bit on starting a collection, what to look for, where you can get them, what sort of money you should pay, the things you should look out for when you are buying these cameras. And here we go. So why would you want to actually start a collection? Well, there's lots of reasons. I just enjoy them. There's something about using an old camera compared to a modern mirrorless camera. I find that, and this is just personally, I find that using a modern camera is much more like using a phone. You tend to take a photo and you can fix things in post and you're quite happy with that. With these, it's much more a slow process. You have, in the case of something like this, a 120 roll film camera, 12 shots. That's it, before you have to change the film. And it costs you. Every time you take a photo, it costs. There's a dollar value to every time you click the shutter. And that tends to slow you down and make you think more. And there's just something nice about that mechanical sound. Every camera sounds different. Everything about them, the way they work, they're all different. So they all have a character that you don't tend to find in modern cameras. So if you're looking at starting a collection, what sort of camera do you want to collect? There's many types. I'm just going to go through a few. This is a twin lens reflex. It's one lens for focusing. You have a viewfinder. Everything's backwards, and this is the taking lens. These are 120 roll film cameras. Film's readily available still. Very basic, very simple cameras. You wind the film on, you cock the shutter, you set your shutter speed, your aperture, you take your photo. There are rangefinder cameras like this old Canonette. This has a rangefinder, as it suggests. It has a small blue box inside the viewfinder. When you focus, the image comes together. Click, you take the photo. 35mm, quite simple cameras. SLR, Pentax Spotmatic, Canon A1s, Olympus OM1s, many varieties ranging in price from quite cheap to, oh dear, we'll not even go there. Box brownie cameras, box cameras. These were made in their millions, and there are many available, and in really good working order. You can still get them. This particular one is a 620. It's 1930s. Even looking at the Art Deco front on it, can tell you that it's a 1930s camera, and it is in beautiful condition. Going to be putting some film through that one shortly. Really looking forward to that one. There are folding cameras. The little Zeiss Icon Netta, one of my favourite cameras. So compact, so neat, easy to use. Again, it's a 120 roll film camera, easily available. Or you can go for the weird and the wonderful and I really do like those. Something like this RT6, which I'm hanging out to use. It's a Bakelite camera, which in effect is an early plastic camera. Again, just fun cameras that you can find. So where are you going to find these cameras? Probably one of the main places would be thrift shops, particularly in larger cities or even small town, like places that are out of the way. They pick up, deceased estate type gear. Often there'll be cameras of some kind. Box brownies in particular, you'd be surprised. They tend to be all over the place. And a lot of people had cameras over the years in these type of range that were family heirlooms, that the people, they may have been the grandfathers or parents and they passed away, and the grandchildren or whatever don't know what to do with them, and they just send them off to a thrift shop. Thing you got to be careful of is sometimes they have gotten into the point where now film has become much more sort of mainstream again. It's become quite popular. There is a tendency for them to start thinking that everything that they've got is worth having, and you've got to be careful with that one. The other thing is eBay. I've picked up a lot of cameras on eBay. Again, look at the descriptions very carefully. I tend to like looking at the lower end than the more weird type cameras, and sometimes it's a bit of a, if you can't actually hold it in your hand, it's a bit of a maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I've taken a chance on a few, couple have worked, most have worked very well. There's been a few that haven't worked out so well, but that's life. One of the places that I would really suggest you look at is if you have any more elderly relatives. Just ask them. Say, I've gotten really interested in photography and old cameras. Do you happen to have any laying around? My dad had cameras all the way back into the 1950s. So it's not unusual that you would find a grandfather or a grandmother or relatives in that vintage that will have a camera, and you can give them some money and take it off their hands, or 9 times out of 10 they'll just give it to you because they haven't even seen it for 50 years. And most of those tend to be in the best condition. So probably the first thing to do is set a type of camera that you want to look at. You don't have to. Like I've shown you that some of the versions, there's also compact cameras, instant cameras. There's whether you want to be in the later period of film cameras, the sort of 90s and early 2000s when film was still popular. The cameras are much more plastic, but there were some really good cameras in that period. Or if you're kind of like me, who likes the older cameras and the more quirky type cameras. So finding a sort of niche that you like is probably a good place to start. Just going out and buying everything that shows up on the market. I know, some people, the ones they like are the cheap compact cameras. You'll find heaps of those in thrift stores. That's not really my thing, but that's fine. You can pick up those for cheap, have fun, build a really nice collection. The next thing you want to do is, once you've decided or got a bit of an idea on the niche of cameras that you want to look at, set yourself a price point, set yourself a budget. As I said, a lot of thrift stores, and that in particular, tend to be thinking that they've got a film camera, it's worth money. Not all cameras are worth big dollars. As I said, one of the things that I really favour is looking for lower cost cameras that are quirky, not so recognised, and you can often pick them up for quite low cost. Things like the box brownies, as I said, they were made by the million. There are literally hundreds of thousands of these cameras still out there and in really good condition. This camera here is near on 100 years old. The shutter works perfectly. Everything is clean and pristine. And you can pick that up for less than $50 and have a really fun camera. You're not going to get mirrorless quality images out of it, but you're going to get images that have got character. And it's fun, and you'll have people talk to you when you're out taking photos with these cameras because they remembered using them, or they say, you're using film, there's something weird about you. So they're quite cheap. The other ones in that range are those 80s and 90s point and shoot cameras. They're regularly available for 20, 30, $50 in that sort of price range. Then you've got things like the rangefinders, or you go to things like the SLRs. And that's where it becomes a bit more variable in terms of the pricing. Something like the Pentax Spotmatic, one like this with the 50mm 1.8 with the radioactive lens. These things can go for quite serious amounts of money, particularly in good condition. Yeah, these quite regularly now go for $200, $300, $500, even up to $500. With the an original Pentax Spotmatic in good condition, 1.8mm, the radioactive coated lens. They've got some serious value to them now. I was lucky to pick this one up several years ago for much less than that. Then you start looking at things like, in the same sort of price range, maybe a little lower, things like these folding cameras. You can pick them up for the under $200. Once you go past that and you get into the high end, you start talking about things like Hasselblads, Rollies, things like the Pentax 6.7s and the Mamiya 7s and the weird type cameras, things like the Wide Lux, cameras that I'd really like to own, but yeah, they're kind of out of my budget at the moment, but maybe one day. Then, of course, you got the weird cameras. You just never know what you're going to pay for those. If you see one and someone's got a price on it, just haggle with them, see what they want. They can be worth having. So, okay, you're in a thrift store, you've got a camera in your hand. Maybe it's a box brownie. Could be any of these cameras. What do you look for? For me, the first thing I look for is, does the shutter work? In this case, yes, it does. Is the lens clean? Is it clear? Is there any sort of hazing, scratching, any fungus on it? Any of those things? What's the viewfinder like? Is it clear? Can you see through it? Is it dull? Is it foggy? Those sort of things. If the camera has a battery compartment, such as this one and this one, which have light meters, what's the battery like? Has it had a battery in it that's leaked, and is it all corroded? Is it going to work? Don't necessarily write those cameras off. Something like the Pentax Spotmatic is a fully manual camera, and literally the only reason the battery is there is to run the light meter. So this camera, even if the electronic side of it is totally ruined, can still be a good camera, but it does impact the price. They use batteries that you can't buy anymore, so there are some issues around that. But this one is running beautifully. Light meter works perfectly, and it's fun. But have a look, open it up. A lot of the times you'll find that it's got a corroded battery, but unless it's something like an AE1 where they're fully reliant on having a battery and the camera doesn't work without a battery, then you can be fine. It's your decision whether you go ahead with that camera. I would always open them up, have a look inside the camera. Again, looking for, particularly if, say, it's a folding camera, looking for anything that's obvious, like light leaks that you can see. Have a look at the light seals on them. It's not unusual, the light seals, to be gone. They're usually just a foam type material, and it's not hard to replace. You go on eBay, you can buy the foam either as just a sheet that you cut, or for some cameras you can actually buy complete kits. My Mamiya RB67, the light seals were gone in that. I was able to just go on eBay, buy a complete set of seals all ready to go. You literally just pulled them off, they fitted, and camera works beautifully again. Once you've got your camera home, what do? Well, the first thing I do is pull it apart, get a blower, blow out any residue, gently clean lenses, all the basic stuff that you would do to just keep and maintain your normal camera. Make sure everything's tidy. If you think the light seals need replacing, replace them. If not, just take the camera out and have a bit of a play. Then how are you going to store it? You could just put it in the cupboard, that's fine, or you could put it on display, you could just put it on a shelf. I particularly I've got these little plastic drawers, which I picked up literally from Kmart for, I think they're about $7 each. I've got a rack of them, or a stack of them, and the camera just sits in them. I can pull the camera out and use it whenever I want, and I can sit there and look at it and think, oh, that's nice. So there's how to store it, just so long, keep them safe. I mean, some of these cameras, you have to think about certain issues. Some of the cameras have selenium light meters, which deteriorate with light, and often they won't be working very well when you get them. And they deteriorate even more the more light they have, so you might need to keep them in a more safe space. There's lots of little details. As you get more interested in it, there's lots more to learn about all the different quirks of the different cameras. And the main thing you got to do when you get the camera home, unless you've just bought it as an object of art, is get out and shoot it. Get some film, go out, put a roll of film through it. I usually suggest people put a roll of film through it, get it processed, get the film back and see what actually comes out. A lot of these, even when the shutters work, it'll be not as reliable, not as accurate as a modern camera. And you may need to learn how to shoot around the various speeds. It may be more accurate at higher shutter speeds, less at low. There's all sorts of variations. There might be light leaks. You may need to say, I want to fix those light leaks. And some of them you might just say, that's part of the character of the camera, I'm just going to work with it. But get out and shoot it. Once you've got a roll of film back and you know what you're working with, get out and shoot more. These things are a piece of history and you're adding to that history. I've got a video which I'll link below on reasons, I think it's 5 reasons that to shoot these things, and give that a watch after you finish with this one, and you might learn a couple of things from that one as well. Anyway, that's my basic thoughts on how to start a collection. It's not too complicated and you can do it for not a lot of money. When you go in and you're looking, don't just be tempted to buy whatever you see. Have an idea, enjoy yourself, enjoy the cameras, and just enjoy the process of analog photography, particularly with old cameras, or whatever generation of cameras you choose to use. Thank you for watching again. If you like what I'm doing, hit the like button, subscribe. I've got a whole bunch of new cameras that I want to get out and use as soon as the weather improves. It's been a bit cold and dreary here over the last few days and weeks. Get out. I'm going to enjoy some more videos, and I'll see you soon. Bye.